What is good, my fellow warriors of light? This is your host, LotusMoon, with another Mobius Final Fantasy video. So this is going to be the third installment of my 4-part video series talking about multiplayer guide videos. In this video, we're going to be covering the role of the Defender. So the Defender is essentially the tank of the party and a vital part in keeping your party alive, especially in the more difficult Sicarius battles. In the easier Sicarius battles, such as the 1-star or 2-star, having a Defender is not completely necessary, but once we get into like the 4-star and 5-star Sicarius battles, it definitely helps. I know I always appreciate having a well-built Defender in the team. It makes everything go so much more smoothly. So in this video, we're going to be covering the cards, which effects cards you want to bring, how to build your deck, and more importantly, what to do as a Defender and what not to do as a Defender. So talking about first what not to do, there's something I have to get out of the way right away because it's very important. And this is probably the most common thing I see done wrong. People do as Defender, especially in the public games. So I'm just gonna make a statement here. If you're a Defender, you are not an attacker, okay? Does everyone understand that? Please, you are not an attacker. Do not go into multiplayer thinking, oh, I'm a secondary attacker. No, you are not needed for your damage. Your damage is insignificant compared to how much damage a good attacker can bring. And if you're thinking to yourself, well, I can do some damage, well, that's kind of the wrong mentality. Let me give you an example. So a good Defender, if you bring a card such as like defense down debuff, this can cause your attacker to have a 1.5 more damage multiplier increase to his damage. Attackers who have their damage increase will do more damage than if you yourself brought your own attack cards. So this is an important concept to understand when you're a Defender. You are not needed for your damage. In fact, like I said, you are most valuable for the debuffs you can bring to help increase the damage to the boss itself. So in this video, we're going to be going over also the timing of the debuffs. It's very important. I see some Defenders commonly just spam all their debuffs right away, and then it mistimes with the time that, the party's trying to actually do damage to the boss, and then they have no debuffs to put on. So this is also very important. So first of all, the first thing you want to look at as a Defender is which Sicarius are you planning to attack? Which Sicarius are you planning to take a party in, right? So in this example, we're going to be using the 4-star Sicarius because this is definitely going to be the hardest Sicarius battles we currently have and most important roles for Defenders to be in. So just talk to Mia here, just like you're planning to make a party. So go to Form Party, go to 4-star, and check out which kind of immunities the Sicariuses have, okay? So each Sicarius usually have some kind of immunity to a particular debuff. So it doesn't make sense if you bring a debuff that the Sicarius is going to be immune to, right? So the way you can check is here. You see Ultima's name right there? Click and hold on their name, and it'll tell you a brief description about it. So it says here, Ultima, it's a Externus of Purging Light Sicarius. And it says here, see, very important, immune to Unguard and immune to Weaken. So it may not be a best idea to bring Weaken or Unguard against Ultima. And then Hecticon Chair, as you can see here, he is immune to Slow and immune to Curse. So these particularly two Sicarius, they're immune to 2 different debuffs, which is very annoying as a Defender. Especially these are very good debuffs to have. Slow, Curse is pretty much I consider staples as a Defender role. And then Weaken and Unguard, that's also annoying. So just keep in mind exactly what you're dealing with when you're fighting your Sicarius. Like Ifrit here, Ifrit's only immune to D-Barrier. Hecticon Chair is not, so you can still use your D-Barrier against him, but it's going to be useless against Ifrit, so you may want to consider bringing a card that may be may be able to affect both Sicarius. Now there's some exceptions to that rule, in which I'm gonna be going over in your card build. Okay, so once you know exactly what you're doing here, in this case we're gonna be looking at Ultima and Hecticon Chair since that's the current 4-star. So just keep in mind slow, curse, and unguard and weaken. So once we have that information, we can go to our deck build. So let's go to multiplayer here. And as you can see here, I have my Heretical Knight here all ready to go. Now, when you're picking cards, as you can see here, I have all cards that'll give me some kind of extra debuff. So, pretty much the most important debuff you can bring is the pairing of slow and stun. Okay, these two are going to be the most powerful debuffs a defender can bring, and I'm going to talk more about that in depth. So first off, your stun card. So as you can see here, I'm using a High Wind Arenia. This was from the Final Fantasy 15 event. I know a lot of people watching this video probably do not have this card. This is a fantastic card to have if you do have it. As you can see here, it is a single target add stun. So this card here will always add a strengthened version of a 3-turn stun. So this is a guaranteed 3-turn stun. If you do not have Arenia, don't worry. There's another very good card that pretty much anyone can use. It's in the ability shop currently, and that is Nekomata. So Nekomata also provides a stun. It's a very strong stun. The only difference between this and Arenia is this is going to have a 3-turn cooldown. As you can see here, cooldown. Arenia does not have any cooldown, which is why I would recommend Arenia if you do have her over Nekomata. But if you don't have her, Nekomata will be just fine. You just have to time your stuns a little bit better for multiple targets if you're trying to stun the Guardians, which is not usually important, but it's always nice if you have the option. So stun is a very good ability. That's going to disable the boss from attacking your party for several turns. Now, I'm sure everyone watching this video has at least been in one Sicarius battle. So as you know, the Sicarius bosses have multiple actions per turn, right? They're usually going to have some kind of single target attack and then do an AoE attack or do some kind of charging move or something like that. So the thing about stun is it is very good, but just keep in mind that if you don't have slow on with the stun is going to go very quickly and it may only last like a turn and a half. Which leads me to my next card, Slow. So Slow is an extremely powerful card. In fact, I consider Slow even more important than Stun. Why is that? Because Slow, unlike Stun, is going to last longer and have more benefits for your party. So Slow is basically going to limit the main Sicarius to have one action per turn. And having only one action per turn is great. Over, let's say you have like a 4-turn debuff on them. You know, that's gonna be a lot less damage going to you and your party. So Slow is an extremely good debuff to have on your party. And you know, I know I'm talking about these kind of cards and debuffs, but I'm gonna show you a live, actually a recorded example of me in a party and show you exactly how good Slow is. In fact, Slow is always good to have. Even if one of your 2 Sicariuses can be slowed and the other cannot, I would still bring it just because it's so useful in the first battle. So we talked about Slow and Stun. Oh yeah, and for Slow, Yasha is gonna be your best card. It's in the ability shop, so anyone can use it. But if you don't have access to Earth, there is one other card I can think of. There may be more, but there's definitely one other card that you can use that has Slow. It's a limited edition card though, so a lot of people probably do not have this. But if you're using a defender that does not have access to Earth, it's going to be harder for you. But like this one right here. This card right here, Biggs, from the Final Fantasy VII Remake. This Tear Gas Grenade is a very strong card. Even though this is only a 4-star fast learner, this is gonna give you access to slow in the water element, which is very important. If you're using like Paladin, or if you're using Scholar. Scholar and Paladin do not have access to Earth, but have access to water. So this is a very good card if you guys have it. Be sure to bring it if you don't have Earth. It adds slow and debrave. Very good card to have for slowing. There was also from the Moogle event, the Dread Moogles. All these cards that have like an area effect. These are going to be a weaker version. I don't really like them, to be honest with you, because it's going to give a very weak debuff. Most likely it's going to be like 1 or 2, if you're lucky maybe 3 turns of debuff, but normally it's going to be giving you only two turns of debuff, so it's going to run out very quickly, and really you only really care about slowing the main Sicarius anyway. So although these are okay to use, I don't really highly recommend them if you have them. I'd rather you get something more powerful, like a longer lasting debuff like a Yasha. There might be other cards that give slow, and you know, this is going to be a generic guide, so as more and more cards keep coming out into the future, keep an eye out for any cards that give slow as an additional effect. In fact, no, this gives Unguard. I think one of these Final Fantasy VII cards also gives slow. Was it this one? Yes. So Jesse, if you have somehow, if there is any light defenders in the mage category, this does add slow. It's kind of nice. But anyway, that's enough about the cards that have slow. So now, I know I haven't talked about it yet, but of course Taunt. Taunt is it's pretty much a must-have, I would consider, in any defender build. We have a lot of different taunts now available to us, which I'm very happy about. Unfortunately, they are mostly in early acquisition right now. But anyway, I'm going to talk first about the very best taunt, and that's going to be this guy right here, Gladiolus from the Final Fantasy 15 event. This is going to be the very best taunt in the game into the foreseeable future. Even in Japan, this is going to be the best taunt. The reason why is because this is an area attack taunt that also gives taunt and curse. So you're getting double value with this, especially as an AoE. You're going to affect all the guardians as well. And it has an extremely high break and attack power too, so you can help with, this will help a little bit with the yellow gauge as well. The only downside is it has a 2-turn cooldown, but if you plan this properly, it's not going to be an issue at all, keeping your enemies taunted. As far as other taunts go, the only other taunts we have gotten so far is going to be, of course, the original taunts from the Final Fantasy Record Keeper. Now, Final Fantasy Record Keeper taunts, they are perfectly fine. They're going to be stuck at 4-star though, which is one thing to keep in mind. But that's not really a big issue. If you have them, that's great. There's one of every element for the Final Fantasy Record Keeper except for the light and dark. So any of these taunt cards are fine. These are all going to be single target though. But we just got some new taunt cards in all the elements. These are great cards, guys. You know, if you want to be a defender, you're definitely going to want to have a taunt available to you. And these taunts are very good. In fact, with these taunts right now, take advantage of right now if you go into the Moogle shop. If you talk to Mog, he will have taunt scrolls available. So these scrolls are going to be fantastic to level up your taunts. If you don't have any early acquisition taunts yet, you may want to stock up on these and just keep them in your storage until you do have them eventually when they go into the ability shop. That way you'll be able to upgrade your taunts ability level very easily. These are pretty good. These are 3-star scrolls with a level 2 taunt. So it's going to be pretty good for you guys. In fact, I know it says here 10 days left, but I looked at the calendar. The taunt scrolls are going to be available for the next couple of Sicariuses. So they're probably just gonna have different different components needed, but they're gonna be available for a little while, so don't worry about that for now. Also, of course, you can level up your taunts with the one from the new exploration region. Let me find them. I know they're in here. Here they are right here. This guy right here. So this guy is kind of like I guess a rare encounter in the 4th exploration region. He has Taunt. Be sure to 3-star him as soon as you find this card in the exploration region, so you can have the ability Taunt to upgrade your cards. Now, I've seen some people use this card as their Taunt in multiplayer. You know, it may be okay in a 3-star battle, but I do not recommend using this in a 4-star Sicarius, simply because the cooldown is going to be very bad. As you can see here, this is a level 3 Taunt. So if I had it at max level 4, it's got to be a 5-turn cooldown. Now, 5 turns, that's a very long time to wait in between taunts, and it's not exactly a very powerful taunt at that. It does have lasting ailments. But it's not going to be too great. You know, if you're desperate for a taunt, I guess you could use it in a pinch, but like I said, I do not recommend this card in 4-star battles, because if you apply it to the first Sicarius in the first battle, this may not be up again by the time your party is done with it and up to the 2nd Sicarius. So that's one thing to keep in mind. I do see some people trying to run it. It's not great though. It's more of a fodder card. So anyway, so we talked about taunts. Now, there's a lot to talk about taunts in my opinion. Now, taunts need to be timed wisely, okay? You don't always have to go out and taunt right away. You have to think about what you're planning to do as a defender, or what kind of debuffs you're planning to put on. Now, the reason I talk about this is because I already mentioned in this video the power of stun and slow. Now, I told you stun and slow are both good on their own, but together they are extremely, extremely good. The reason why is because, like I mentioned, first of all, the stun card, you know, it's gonna, like I said, Sicariuses have several actions per turn. So if you give them a 3 or 4 turn stun, it's gonna run out very quickly. But if you give the Sicarius also slow, that's gonna limit their actions to only 1 action per turn, which is gonna really extend the value of your stun. So stun really only shines when you have slow in addition to stun. Now, I don't want to keep going on and on about this combo. I will show you an example when I get to my recorded video. But just keep in mind, if your Sicarius is both stunned and slowed for like 3 turns, you don't have to taunt it, because the Sicarius is gonna be immobile for many turns. So if you taunt as well, it's just gonna be a waste, a waste of a taunt. It's just gonna keep running out it's just gonna keep running out, and eventually it's gonna have the immunity. So time your taunts wisely. And I'll show you guys, like I said, I'll show you the example. So when it comes to debuffs, another thing to keep in mind is you do not want to debuff the enemy right away with anything that's going to be increasing the damage for your attacker. Like, say for example, this card right here, Debarrier. This is not a good debuff to apply at the first or even second turn, depending on how good your party is. Right away, you do not want to be applying these kind of debuffs right away. Like anything that's going to help your attacker increase its damage, you want to be a watchful defender, okay? So you want to really plan your debuffs correctly, because as you know, the main thing as a defender, when you debuff, you have to keep in mind that as soon as the debuff runs out, the Sicarius is going to have an immunity for a few turns afterwards. So you don't want your debuff falling off at the same time that your attacker is trying to do damage. So best to look at how much red gauge is left and coordinate with your attacker on when to plan your debuffs. So this is very important. Look how much red gauge your Sicarius has, and then plan your debuffs properly. So besides doing all that, well, let's finish going over the cards first. So we talked about slow, we talked about stun, and we talked about the taunts. So let's talk about the D-Barrier then. So D-Barrier is an extremely good card. This is going to fall in the category, like I was talking about a second ago, about any kind of debuff that's going to help increase damage for the party. D-Barrier is always going to be one of the best to bring, but also in this category, that are some other good ones to bring. Weaken is extremely strong. So this card here, Zodiarch, if you have this card, it's extremely good. It's going to lower your target's elemental resistance for several turns. So this, I've tested this personally with my group. It really does help maximize the damage for your attacker. So this is another great card to bring besides the barrier. And like I mentioned earlier, if you check in the immunities of your Sicarius before you make your deck, and you see that your Sicarius, such as Ifrit, is immune to the barrier, Weaken will be a perfect substitute. Another good substitute for the barrier will be Unguard. This one will nullify the defense for several turns. Now you can stack Unguard and D-Barrier. They somehow stack together. It will even reduce the damage further. So they are both good to use if you want to bring both, if you have room. Another good one to bring, of course, is Curse. Now, so Curse is not. You can use Curse right away if you're if you're a defender. If you don't, like I said, it depends what you're trying to do. If you don't have the stun and slow combo on, or even just a stun, Curse, you want to apply Curse as soon as your Sicarius can start hitting your party. So Curse is another good. This one here is a very good card to bring. In my build, you see here, I don't have Curse because, like I said earlier, this card here, Gladiolus, is going to apply Taunt and Curse to me. So this is like a double. It's like a savings in room, really. So Curse is also extremely good to bring. I would highly recommend bringing Curse if you don't if you don't have other cards to bring. Curse is always fantastic. Let's see here. Now this card right here, D-Brave. D-Brave is a good card. In my opinion, it's one of the... It is very good. It depends on the Sicarius you're fighting. So some Sicarius are going to do more magic-focused type attacks. They're going to be doing magic attacks. And then other Sicariuses, such as like Hecticon Chair, they do more physical type attacks. So know your Sicarius. Like, think about when you're fighting Ifrit. Ifrit does AoE magic type attacks, but he also has a few physical damage, right? Sometimes Ifrit's just gonna smack you with his hand, right? So for those kind of attacks, D-Brave will lower the damage for you. So don't bring D-Brave onto Sicarius battles that they don't really do physical type attacks. Something to keep in mind. Okay, so we went over those. Any other good ones? Those are pretty much the main ones. And also they're all available in all these I just mentioned are all available in the ability shop now. So you can go ahead and get them if you want when you're building your deck. These are all some fantastic choices. Also, and now I've seen some defenders use this in the past, bringing some kind of wall for yourself. Now, I don't really recommend this in today's meta. We have so many good choices in debuffs, and people are getting a lot, attackers are getting a lot stronger. So, really, you shouldn't have any problem keeping alive. Now, I don't know, in the future, I know in the guide it says you can bring, like, something to protect yourself, such as wall, but this is, in my opinion, not really needed. If you do bring it, it's not the worst idea, like a Tyro. But you want to be reliant on your healer for these kind of extra buffs on the party, and you want to focus more on the debuffs. Now, another thing I want to talk about as a defender. So we've talked about now what kind of cards you want to bring. Another important role of a defender is you need to supply your party with orbs. Okay, this is not just the role of the breaker. Okay, so this is important. I've seen some defenders not really help out, but defenders must help feed orbs to the team, just like a breaker. It's very important. So pretty much if you're not applying debuffs and stuff, you want to be trying to do basic attacks to help gain orbs for your party. So another thing to think about is, I talk about supplying orbs to your party. So if your debuff has been applied already, and the boss is about to be broken, do not go before your attacker on the break turn. So let's say, your breaker just broke, the breaker is gonna break the Sicarius on the following turn. And you already applied your, let's say you have D-barrier. You already have D-barrier on the boss. It's important not to go before the attacker because you want to try to go afterward so you can hit in some basic attacks to help refuel your attacker's elemental orbs so that the following turn he will have a second turn to have a chance to deal damage to the boss. So this is also very important. The only situation I would say go before the attacker in the break turn is if you haven't had a chance to put your debuff yet. That's why it's very important to time them. I try to get my debuffs on for the damage dealing debuffs before the break turn. That way I don't have to go before the attacker, and that way I can help replenish his orbs on that turn. Now, there's two types of different decks you want to think about as a defender. Now, for the regular public decks, like let's say you're doing some public games, you're doing some pubs, a disabler deck is gonna be more beneficial because you don't know what kind of people you're gonna be dealing with. Some people may not be doing their roles correctly, and the battle could just drag on. I know we've all been in that situation. We've been in a battle that just drags on because the breaker doesn't know how to break, or the attacker is not helping with the yellow gauge, or something is going wrong, and it's just turned into an extremely long battle. So for these cases, I recommend a more disabler deck, right? Kind of like what I have here. This is what I consider a disabler deck. Taunt, stun, and slow. 3 of my 4 card slots are all for helping disable the Sicarius. Only 1 card here I have for helping increase the damage for my party. But if you want to play defender for an organized group, let's say you are on Discord or you're on my Facebook page, and you know who you're playing with. Everyone knows how to do their roles very efficiently. You can replace some of these cards with more cards that would help deal damage. Like let's say I can go more of a full debuff damage increase build. So like right now, this is more a disabler build. But instead of some of these, like I would always bring Taunt, but like I could put on Weaken, I can put on D-Brave, and this deck has now turned into a more helping increase the damage of my party instead of being a disabler deck. So know what kind of role you want to play in as a defender. Like I said, I would only recommend this kind of build if you're in an organized group. That way you can concentrate more on trying to increase the damage dealt to the Sicarius rather than trying to keep the party alive. Because I don't know if you guys had the privilege, but if you're in an organized group, oh man, it is so sweet. You will have such good quick runs, 4 or 5 minute runs. You don't have to worry about stunning and taunting, all that crap. Usually the boss will be broken at turn 2, and then the turn 3 is gonna be dead. So in those kind of cases, a build that will maximize the damage of your attacker is gonna be more beneficial. But like I said, if you're just playing random battles with people online, I would highly recommend bringing a more disabler build. Okay. So for now, I'm just gonna keep that. This is a solid disabler build for random multiplayer battles. Now, I haven't really talked about elements yet. Now, being a defender, picking your elements, unfortunately, is very important. really, in my opinion, the best defenders are going to have access to Earth and Wind. Unfortunately, the way the game is right now, Earth and Wind have all the good debuffs. I mean, look at us. We have Slow, we have Stun, we have Curse, we have Weaken. I mean, all of them are pretty much in Wind and Earth categories. So let me show you an example what I'm talking about here. So this is the Paladin. Paladin is a very good defender, but his main issue are his elements. So he has fire, water, and light. So he is good when you're playing against Ultima Sicarius because he can drive for light, and that way your party will have resistance to light. But look at the cards I have set up here. So for fire, of course, D-Barrier is always going to be a great pick. For water, now I hate to talk about this card too much because I know most people do not have this card, but you're very limited in what you have access to when you don't have wind or earth. So this is a very good card. This is going to give you the slow, like I was talking about earlier, and the debrave. You're going to want to bring some kind of taunt. Now, in this case, I have the light taunt because I have only access to these 3 elements. But any taunt would be fine. It's better to bring a taunt of opposite elements, really. So, you know, if you wanted, like right now it's Hecticon Chair, so maybe, well, I can't use wind, but maybe something of like a different element might be good. So this taunt card would be fine. And then this card here I'm bringing because this one adds Unguard. So this is pretty good. If you have Barret from the Final Fantasy 7 Remake, and you're playing as Paladin, this is actually a pretty good card to bring. It's a nice AoE attack card. It'll help with the yellow gauge as well, and will add Unguard. So this is another good card to bring. So like I said, it's going to be harder to build your defenders without wind and earth, but it is possible. As you can see here, this is a pretty decent build. It will work perfectly fine. Now let me talk about the kind of defenders we have currently in the game and in the future. So the warrior defender, it has fire, water, and earth. It's a pretty solid defender. It's gonna get better in the future with, of course, Hall of Fame panels. But for now, it does have access to earth. So it's a pretty decent defender. The knight, though, the knight is an extremely good defender. It has the right elements. It has fire, wind, and earth, just like the Heretical Knight. And this guy here, look at the evaluation of this card. 95 in single player and 98 in multiplayer. And this is because of the Hall of Fame. So as you guys know, we're gonna be getting Hall of Fame in the near future in global. I want to say maybe within the next like 2 to 3 months or so. But once we get Hall of Fame, the Knight is gonna be an extremely good defender. It's good now also, but it's gonna be even better in the future. So if you are looking through your job cards and you're thinking about being a defender, this is one good one to invest in, because this is going to be a great defender in the future for a very long time. The Paladin, as I already mentioned, it's okay. It actually has a high evaluation as a defender, 98 of 100, and that's because he is a very strong defender, has high HP, has high defense. He has some good attribute tolerances to quite a few elements, and he does have access to light, which is good to for those Ultima battles. Now this guy right here, oh my god, Sword Saint. This Sword Saint job is pretty much, I think is going to be the best defender for a very long time. We are not going to see this job for a long time though in global. This job is a more recent job in the Japanese server. So if you're watching this video and you play the Japanese server, this Sword Saint is definitely, I think, might be the best defender right now. Look at all his resistances. He has 40% resistance to every single of the 6 elements. That's crazy. So he's definitely gonna be definitely like a wall. So this guy is very strong. Not only that though, but he has access to all 6 elements. So between the 2 builds, you can be more of a light and dark defender, or you can be the, I personally would like the light light earth and wind variant, just because, like I mentioned, the cards are better in the wind and earth. But this guy is amazing. So right now in global, I would say probably Heretical Knight is the very best defender we have currently in the game. He is very good. He's also gonna have access to dark, so he can be a great dark defender against anima. As you know, as he can also use fire when you want to use your fire spells. He is a very, very high HP defender. It's the one I'm currently using in this video, and it's the one I'm going to be showing you in my example video. This guy right here, this legendary brave defender, he doesn't have access to earth, but he does have fire, wind, and light, so you can definitely make this guy work. He's going to be rated lower compared to some of the other defenders I just showed you. I'm not a huge fan, to be honest with you, but you know, he is still decent. 94 is not too bad. It's just that, honestly, I much rather have actually just a knight with the Hall of Fame panels. So, and in the light, if you want a light defender, you know, I'd rather probably just use Paladin or Sword Saint, of course, if you have it in the Japanese server. So those are the warrior type defenders. There's only one mage defender, and that's going to be the Scholar. Now, Scholar, it doesn't have access to earth. But it does have some good elements here. Like I said, it does have access to wind, to water and wind. So it's a decent defender. It's not the best, but it is another option. For the monk defenders, we have the new one here, the monk, just the regular monk. He has access to 5 of the 6 elements, and really the most important elements. He doesn't have access to water, which doesn't really matter too much. So yeah, this is a very strong defender. His rating's a little bit lower, but his elements are definitely on point. But as you know, he doesn't have as many resistances, so he might be a little bit weaker than compared to some other ones. Now this Moogle defender, he's kind of funny. He does have some good elements, being wind, earth, and light. He's rated 94 of 100, not too bad. We might be seeing him in the future, sooner than later. And then, of course, this guy right here, Snow. Snow is also a very good defender. He has access to earth, as well as dark and water. And he has some decent resistances, so he's also good. So this is all. I mean, there's not that many defenders, especially out right now. Snow will be a good one in the future. Of course, the Sword Saint's gonna be the best one. But I mean, if you, right now in global, you want to be looking for probably Heretic Knight or Paladin or Knight. I think those are probably the top 3 in global right now: Knight, Paladin, and the Heretic Knight. You know, Scholar is, to me, it's just not as good as the other ones, but he's still okay. So, and the new Monk Defender is also okay. So anyway, those are the jobs that we have in Defender class. Now let's talk about weapons. So weapons are important as a defender. You want to bring something that will give you either more HP or give you some kind of elemental orb refund or prismatic orbs. So I'm using the Drag Vandal X. Drag Vandal X is a great weapon for a defender. It has all the right auto abilities you're looking for. Gives you HP plus 10% up. It gives you a third elemental strike plus 2 and up once it gets upgraded more. So this is great, especially when you're trying to just get orbs for the party. This will help you get more orbs, so you can keep driving. And the prismatic draw is great too, because the prismatic draw, you know, it'll give you access to any element. So that'll really help you keep your debuffs going, as well as keeping your resistances up. So I really highly recommend the Drag Vandal X, especially since it's a free to play weapon, right? Anyone can get this weapon from doing Sakari's battles. So this is an extremely good weapon. Another good weapon would be so Masamune. I do like this weapon as a defender. It has Reunion. Reunion is an extremely powerful auto ability, because it's gonna refund your orbs as prismatics, and as you can see here, 22% of the time. So let's say you're doing a heal drive and you're using half of your orbs in the heal. It will refund those orbs as prismatics. So this is a very good weapon for defenders as well. In my opinion, Drag Vandal is better. So if you have Dirk Vandal, use it over the Masamune, but Masamune is perfectly fine because of Reunion. The extra life draw is nice too because so the last thing you can do as a defender is heal drive. Having heal drive is very important at the right time. Okay, of course you know the healer is the main healer for the party. They're gonna try to keep the party alive, but sometimes sometimes the healer's gonna need a little bit of help, and in those situations you wanna use your drive heal to heal the party. So the extra life draw would be nice in those situations. Attune Chain doesn't really matter for your defender, but yeah, let's see here. So, you know, Blood Anchor, this is the weapon that comes with the Heretical Knight. I heard, I don't have it unlocked yet, but the third auto ability is actually pretty good. It has some kind of refund orbs also, kind of like the Masamune. So this is actually a decent weapon for being a defender, as well as it gives you a lot of extra defense. So Blood Anchor is totally fine if you have the third auto ability unlocked. I do not have it unlocked, so I can't show you. But if you do have the third ability unlocked, it is pretty good. A pretty good choice. So the one that comes with the Paladin, it has pretty high HP. It does have job change recast. This is gonna be one of the more weaker weapons, I would say, as a defender. So I would kind of skip on that. So those are gonna be your primary ones. I don't want to talk too much about them because Drag Vandal X is just kind of the perfect weapon. So if you don't have Drag Vandal X, get it and use it. So as far as the custom skill panel, so for custom skills, probably the best thing you can put on them is extra resistance and extra HP. As a defender, you want to be always alive, of course. If you're a dead defender, you're not doing your job correctly. So you always want to make sure you're alive, and you should have the highest HP anyway of the party. So there's no reason why you should be dead. But if you want more extra HP, you can put it on your custom panels. Extra resistance is perfect though. As you can see here, I loaded up on extra resistance. Especially right now, we have Ultima, so I have an extra 8% of light resistance. Now, enhanced heal drives. Now, this is something I didn't even realize until recently. But enhanced heal drives, unfortunately, this is only going to affect you. It's not going to affect the party's heals. So at first I thought that when you have enhanced heal drives on your custom skills, this will in turn power up your heal drives for the whole party. But unfortunately that is not true. This only affects you. This is gonna give you extra health compared to the rest of the party when you're doing your heal drives. So it's not a great custom skill. I do have this one because it's a 3-star and it gives 3% extra healing. So it's not too bad in keeping myself alive, but it's not going to help the party. So you don't really want to be wasting too many slots on enhanced heal drive. It's not gonna help your party heals. So before we finish up here with the builds, I want to talk about the extra abilities, the fractals. So probably the best one, I mean, there's not too many you really want as a defender. The best one I think is going to be the HP percent up. You know, the more HP you have, the more beefy you'll be, the harder you'll be to kill. So HP up is a great one to have. Of course, as always, I mean, I don't really have to mention it, but of course, job change recast is always a valuable auto ability to have on your card. So try to get at least a few job change recasts as a defender. This is going to help your first few turns, you know, replenish your orbs, and as well as having enough orbs yourself to do the elemental drives. So as you can see here, I pretty much have you know, those kind of job change recasts and HP up. In fact, if you're looking at my HP here, I have over 22,000 HP, and that's because on my auto abilities here, I have 28% HP up. That's just insane. That's such a high amount of HP up. So that's fantastic. Also, I have some good resistances here. So yeah. So this is a very strong defender. I really recommend Heretical Knight if you have him. If not, like I said, Knight. The Knight will be perfectly fine if you do have him. Knight. I have to still level up my Knight, but it's also a very good defender. Okay, so we talked about weapons, we talked about custom skills, we talked about cards. So yeah, let's see here. What else to talk about? Okay, so the turn order in battle. So as you know, I've talked about this in my other videos, but pretty much the healer should always go first for the most part, and then the attacker. So as a defender, your turn order should probably be either third or last. So I like going third as the defender because normally your breaker is only going to be doing basic attacks. And the breaker doesn't need orbs as badly as a defender also. Also, it's kind of good to go third because you may have some cards that will be dealing like some break power damage. So this will help with the yellow gauge. Now, actually, I'm glad I mentioned this. Being a defender, your job is not really to help with the yellow gauge. The attacker and the breaker, they're the ones that should be trying to focus on getting the yellow gauge down. If you can help them with that, it's fine. I commonly see the misconception that breakers, defenders have. They bring something like this. This one will give you a lower defense against break. Now, it is a good debuff. Lower defense against break, and as well as the other one, lower critical resist. Those are two very good debuffs to have on your party. But in my opinion, your breaker and your attacker should be putting those debuffs on. For you, you only have access to 4 slots, so you can't have everything. To me, it's more important to have taunt, slow, curse, debarrier, stun. All those are what you want to be focusing on. So I mean, if you bring in a card like this, you can help with the yellow gauge, and you can also help apply defense against break. But in my opinion, the breaker should be bringing their own defense against break, or the attacker. So those two guys, they need to be doing those debuffs themselves. Okay, let's see here. So we talked about turn order. All right, so I think I'm gonna go into my my video here to show you exactly what you should be looking for when you're doing the turn order. So here I am here, I'm playing Heretical Knight. We're playing against Ultima. So right away here, you'll notice I queued up Yasha for slow and High Wind for stun. And I'll show you exactly how good this combo is if you don't know already. So as you can see here, I'm waiting. I'm waiting to go third. As you see here, I went third. And like I said, this is going to be the best spot for a defender because my breaker, I know that my skills, my high wind's gonna do a little bit of yellow gauge damage, so this may help the breaker get through the red gauge faster. Always let your healer and attacker go first though. So here's my healer, he's putting on our buffs. The attacker, he's gained the yellow gauge down. And as you can see here, like I said, the attacker, they usually bring their own defense, lower defense against crit. So here I go. I went ahead and put slow and stun. As you can see here, I have a 4-turn slow and a 3-turn stun. Now pay attention to those debuffs as we go along here. And as you notice, I didn't apply Taunt. Now this is what I was mentioning earlier. If I went ahead and taunted Ultima with stun and slow on, it would have been a complete waste. I'm gonna hang on to my taunt until those debuffs fall off, and then I will taunt her. Also, as you notice, I did not apply the debarrier on the first turn because, like I said, first turn, highly unlikely your party's gonna break Ultima. So you do not want your debuff to be falling off before it is broken, as it will gain immunity to it. So as you can see here, Ultima had nothing to do. It just took down my stun went down from 3 to 2, and that is because it is slow. So that's fantastic. We basically have 3 free turns the Sicarius doing absolutely nothing. And this is really gonna help your party keep alive, guys. It makes the party so smooth when you have access to slow and stun. It's amazing. So I just did high wind there and then placed the barrier because I was trying to help with the very last bit of the yellow gauge. I didn't bother driving elements too much in this first battle because, for one thing, I know that my Sicarius is immobilized, right? She is not doing anything for quite a few turns. So, and also I do not have access. I do not have access to light. So, if I was a paladin, I would be trying to drive the party for resistance to light. But in this case, it doesn't even matter. I don't have light element anyway, so I'm trying to keep the Sicarius disabled. Especially Ultima, Ultima's harder to break because she has the resistance to break defense down, which is really annoying. So as you can see here, my stun finally wore off, and I have only one turn of slow. So this is an important note, guys. If you're playing a Sicarius that is resistant to slow, you can still stun it. But keep in mind, if you have only slow on your Sicarius, Sicarius is only going to be doing the AoE attack, right? So now, if you're doing Taunt, Taunt is only really good against drawing the single target attacks to yourself, right? But if you have the slow debuff on your Sicarius, the Sicarius is going to choose to do the AoE attack. So Taunt is almost kind of a waste also if you have slow on your Sicarius, because like I said, if your Sicarius is slowed, then it's only going to be choosing to do the AoE attack, which affects everybody. So Taunt doesn't even matter in that case. So you may want to time your Taunt around slow as well. So one other point I want to mention while we're watching this video is the elemental wheel down here. So it's very important to keep your elemental wheel in balance as a defender, because a lot of times you want to be using the same element for your debuffs as also drawing elements for your resistance. So say for example, the next battle here is going to be Heretical Knight, right? He is an earth element Sicarius, which means I want to be driving earth orbs, but I also need earth orbs for my other cards, right? So whenever you're playing a debuff, they have a cooldown usually. So when you have a cooldown on your debuff, go ahead and apply a couple of extra basic attacks in there so that you help balance out your wheel so that you can have access to earth again. Because if you don't balance out your wheel, you might be struggling to keep your debuffs on of the same element as your Sicarius is. I hope that makes sense. I hope that wasn't confusing. So Ultima's finally dead. That was extremely easy. As you can see here, Ultima did not have even one action against our party, which makes my role as a defender extremely easy and also helps out your healer, because your healer doesn't have to worry about keeping the party alive. I completely disabled her, and it was amazing. So now the problem with Heretical Knight, as you see here, look at the resistances he has, right? He has resistance to slow and resistance to curse. So stun is still good against Heretical Knight, and I still brought slow. As you can see here, I still brought slow even though I know that Heretical Knight is resistant to it, because as you just saw in the last battle, slow is such a amazing debuff against Sicarius, even if only one of them will be affected. it is still so good to bring, because in this one here, you'll see I'm going to be slowing the Guardians, which will give them 0 actions. So that's going to also help the party out. So I went ahead and, since I know he cannot be slowed, I went ahead and did Taunt, because Taunt is gonna apply all the single target attacks to me. So I did Taunt. I did Stun. So I'm planning out my turn very carefully here. So I applied my AoE Taunt and Curse, so all the Guardians are going to be taunted towards me. I did Stun on Hecticon Chair, since he cannot be slowed. And I'm doing slow on Guardian B, because Guardian B is extremely annoying. I like to, if I cannot slow the main Sicarius, I'm going to slow Guardian B, because Guardian B is going to have the other annoying buffs and debuffs. In fact, sometimes Guardian B is going to have Ezuna, which is going to get rid of 1 debuff on all the Sicarius and Guardians, which is super annoying. So, like I said, in this case, I'm gonna be slowing the Guardian, and I'm gonna hang on to my Fire Orb so I can de-barrier on the next turn. So as you can see here, I planned it perfectly. None of them got an action. So first turn, no actions from anybody. This is great. I'm just getting rid of some of my orbs here. As you can see, I don't need I had way too many life orbs. I'm just gonna be drawing them to get some fresh orbs, because right now I'm thinking I need some more earth orbs, because in case Hecticon Chair becomes starts attacking us, I want to be sure our party has access to earth, a strong earth, the elemental resistance. So I'm trying to clear out some orbs here while I have a chance, and also applying basic attacks to help replenish the party with orbs as well. So I stunned Guardian A, which is great. Got some more orbs for our party. Now I have some earth orbs, as you can see here. So next turn I'm gonna be doing an earth drive to help protect the party. So don't forget about your elemental driving. So there we go. I did my earth drive. The breaker said he's gonna break, so I'm gonna try to help him also with my ultimate. So that's another thing to mention. As a defender, try to also keep in mind if you have a strong break ultimate. Heretical Knight has a very strong break ultimate, so I know I can help the party out with breaking. In this case, I didn't need to, because we had a very good breaker, and he just breezed through that red gauge like nothing. So as you can see here, luckily, our attacker is an occultist, so he applied his own de-barrier. So I'm not gonna be wasting my time. I was planning to do de-barrier on the following turn, but as you can see here, he has de-barrier already applied. I'm just gonna cast it for the hell of it. But this game is over, as you can see. So it was a very smooth run. As you can see here, being a really good defender really helps the party. And this team I had here was completely random. You know, I could have made a really easy video with just my own team of specialized players, but this was just a totally public game. I don't know any of these people I played with here. Totally random So I wanted to show you something real, like something like a real world example, as you could say. So I hope you guys learned something for being a defender. I really hope people watch this video and I see less attacking defenders. That really bothers me. I really hate seeing attacking the defenders who think they're secondary attackers. That just really bugs me. Okay, so I think I covered everything. If I forgot anything, I might leave some comments. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope this was helpful. I hope this helps clarify what you need as a defender and what kind of cards to bring, as well as the turn order and the mentality that you need to have. You know, don't just spam all your debuffs and then they're just wasted and then they get immunity. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. This has been LotusMoon, and I'll see you guys next video.